Now let's return to the idea that repetition needs to be combined with effort on the part of the learner, because it relates to the next step we want to cover. Promote participation.
Even in on-demand recorded presentations, participation from learners is possible and desirable, but clear opportunities have to be called out and supported. As we've already suggested, an essential element of gaining participation is to clearly ask for participation. As part of doing that, you have to build in sufficient time for it. And that means including silence during presentations or, in recorded presentations, having learners hit the pause button to allow time for whatever it is you want to ask them to do. You may recall that when we presented the letter memory challenge at the beginning of this course, we asked you to participate, and then we were silent for approximately 30 seconds to give you an opportunity to memorize the letters. Doing something like that can feel a bit awkward, but it can really help tremendously with learning. A fundamental problem with most presentations is that the learning evaporates once the learner exits the physical classroom or online course. To combat forgetting, we have to encourage and guide learners to practice, and prompting and pausing creates the opportunity to do that. We'll note too that prompting and pausing are a way of focusing attention, signaling to learners what's important and giving them an opportunity to engage and re-engage with that important material. Of course, once you have focused or refocused attention in this way, you have to provide the actual participation opportunity, which leads to our next point.
There are many ways to enable participation, and most aren't especially complicated, and many can be used in essentially all situations, though some are specific to the tools and technologies used to deliver your presentation. You don't need fancy animations or elaborate games. Simple methods like reflection questions, contributions to chat, quizzes, assignments, or the challenges we presented at the beginning of this course can be quite effective. Using a variety of methods throughout your presentation can help maintain learner interest and attention. Just as importantly, if you give learners the opportunity to engage with the material in a variety of ways, you'll be supporting different aspects of learning. A quiz, for example, might help to bolster memory for key concepts. Reflection might provide a means of elaboration, challenging a learner to think through how the concepts might apply to their own situation. For example, a task they perform on a daily basis or a type of interaction they commonly have with patients. An assignment could then challenge them to apply one or more key concepts when they're back in their work context. To go back to our earlier point about spacing and repeating, it's highly effective to provide for repeated but varied types of participation throughout your presentation. You might, for example, provide a challenge as a way of introducing a key concept, and then return to the same concept later and present a reflection question. One key to mixing your methods in the most meaningful way is to get your learners to make an effort, to retreat, to elaborate, to rehearse, to apply, to make their own connections between the material you share and their own contexts. A wealth of research suggests that this kind of effort on the part of the learner is essential for making learning stick. So as you deliver the presentation, overtly tie the content or skills you're teaching back to the outcomes and positive change the learners are after. But even more importantly, help learners, through their participation, make such connections for themselves. They're better able than you are to make the why of any learning experience more meaningful and specific. You just need to encourage them and, through prompting and pausing, give them the cognitive space to do so.
Finally, as you give learners the opportunity to participate, it's important also to provide them with feedback that may be helpful. For example, if you pose a question that has a correct answer, you might, after pausing for a moment to allow learners to come up with the answer on their own, provide the correct answer so learners are able to check their response.
Providing truly helpful feedback can be challenging, particularly in recorded presentations, because there is often not a single correct answer, or because the appropriate action for a learner to take varies depending on the context. Where it's possible, however, feedback can help significantly, ensuring that learners truly understand and remember the material you share with them, and that they're able to apply it in a way that is appropriate and effective for their needs. So, what are some possibilities?
We've already mentioned one, posing a question and then, after a pause, providing the answer. In keeping with some of our earlier points, note that providing the answer could mean showing an image, a video, or even performing actions yourself on screen to illustrate a correct or appropriate response to a question.
Other options in on-demand recorded presentations include things like providing links to web pages or downloadable resources that will ensure learners can easily get correct answers or examples relevant to any participation opportunities you provide. If supported, you can make use of quizzing or assessment tools that provide automated feedback based on how a learner responds to a question.
Of course, in live situations, whether online or in the classroom, you have a wider range of options. You can, for example, make use of the techniques already discussed, but you also have the opportunity to provide feedback to learners in real time, and when appropriate, on an individualized basis. You can also ask learners to support each other by providing peer-to-peer feedback.
Keep in mind that in any teaching situation, online or off, real-time or on-demand, the same guidelines for effective feedback apply. So let's talk about what makes up effective feedback.
So first, effective feedback is focused on improving learner performance. This may seem like an obvious point, but you've probably encountered situations yourself where you've been given or witnessed others being given feedback that was gratuitous or not really helpful for actually improving performance. Even well-intentioned feedback like "good job" can be unhelpful. Feedback that helps improve performance will praise strengths, focus on areas that need work, or both. For someone working on public speaking, effective feedback might be, "Your pacing is consistent and not too fast or too slow. Nice work. Your volume, though, varied. Be sure to project throughout." That feedback lets the learner know that pacing and volume are things they should pay attention to and gives them ideas for what to try to improve in order to be better the next time.
Second, feedback should take the learner and the situation into account to the greatest extent possible. Of course, accounting for the needs and situation of specific individual learners can be challenging, even in real-time face-to-face situations, and it's particularly challenging in recorded presentations. But even knowing and accounting for the types of learners you're teaching is helpful. For example, the needs of novice learners are usually quite different from those of more advanced learners. Novices are likely to benefit more from corrective, directive, and immediate feedback, whereas more advanced learners will benefit from feedback that helps them evaluate their own performance, facilitates their identifying and working on areas for improvement, and that is delivered after they have had some time for processing on their own.
As with many elements of this course, feedback is a rich and nuanced area of learning, and we encourage you to explore it more deeply with the supplemental resources we've provided. As with other elements of this course, though, the real key is to make sure the feedback you offer is well aligned with the overall objectives of your course, and that it's as targeted and relevant as possible in helping learners achieve those objectives.
To recap, effectively promoting participation means you should prompt and pause. The likelihood of learners actively participating in your presentation is much higher if you ask them to and provide time when participation can happen. Mix methods meaningfully. Participation can take many forms, from reflection questions to chat contributions to assignments. Using multiple methods helps maintain learner interest and attention, and by requiring effort on the part of the learner, helps ensure learning will stick. Furnish feedback. Feedback can help significantly ensuring that learners truly understand and remember the material you share with them, and that they're able to apply it in a way that is appropriate and effective for their needs. One final note, as with the previous section, everything we cover in this section benefits from cycling back through course content multiple times to identify opportunities for pausing, which are often aligned with opportunities for repetition, opportunities for employing varied methods effectively, and opportunities for providing and supporting feedback. Consider a presentation you're working on. How and when are you promoting participation? Have you considered how to provide feedback to learners?